You're listening to ArTEEtude, a podcast with artists created and produced by Detlef Schlich, a visual artist and ritual designer, living and loving in West Cork, and best known for his essay about the cause and effect of shamanism, art and digital culture. Working in the field of performance, photography, painting, sound, installations, and film, he will dive and discover with us and a weekly creative guest into the unknown and exciting deep ocean of the creative mind.
This is Detlef Schlich, and today we dive into the deep and unknown, exciting ocean of the creative mind with Felicitas Gross. I'm so delighted to have her here. I mean, our story combines already a long history from 2017, where I used to produce a video for her in Castle Tambert. And today, I mean, we already spoke a long time about that we want to make a podcast together. So I'm so happy to have you here, Felicitas.
I'm happy too.
And it is great what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it as well in three parts. In the first part, Felicitas is an artist from the GDR, originally, she lives here in Ireland already quite a long time in West Cork. So, but all that we will discover in the next 3 episodes. I would say we just diving now absolutely into the deep ocean, what her creative mind, and we start actually about her growing up, her coming up. So I think it's very interesting because most of the people, they even don't know that Germany was divided between the East and the West, you know. So and I think it's a very exciting and interesting subject, you know. So, hi, Felicitas.
Hello.
It's great to have you here. It's really lovely.
Yeah.
I would say Felicitas is artist, sculptures, but we come in the second part. Like I said, we start with your life. When were you born? Which time was in?
After the war, after the Second World War, quite a time after the war. So I was born into the after-war period in Germany, after the Second World War. And I went directly into the separation of Germany. So it was before I was born. This Germany was divided into 2 parts.
It was already divided, no?
No, by the occupation zones, because the Western powers occupied the west of Germany, and they put a border there. Yeah. And the east of Germany was occupied by the Russian army, Soviet army. And so they occupied this, and I grew up under Russian occupation. Yeah. And this is, at the moment, very a present subject. But
it is, actually.
Yes, and I grew up with all the prejudices and of the Russians, really. But later in school, I learned the Russian language. I had to learn because the German leaders in the Russian zone, the Eastern zone they called it, they dominated, and the leaders of the German leaders of the Russian zone were completely dominated by the Russian government in the Soviet Union. So they were like disciples or underlings of them. So we had to learn the Russian language. We had to follow the guidelines of the government there. So that was, another kind of brainwashing as well, yes. But it was a peaceful upbringing, and we had not a bad time. The Germans were very busy in coming up with their new life, and they tried hard to.
I can imagine that.
They tried hard to to build up and to build new houses and build their
So
professions.
where was it? So
It
exactly
was, yes, it was in the middle of Germany, in the former industrial part of the middle of Germany, in Leipzig.
in Leipzig.
Yeah, where
All
they
right.
are,
So in the city Leipzig.
in the city.
It's a lovely place, isn't
Yes,
it?
it's in the southern part of the city.
Yeah.
And it was a very international city. You would not think it, because Leipzig was holding two fairs in the year.
Yeah.
As a spring fair with international, every country was presented there, or most of the countries were presented, all the Western countries. And it changed the whole city. If in the fair time they had even brothels there, what we learned afterwards, that the Western delegations could feel like in the West. So they brought what we as citizens did not have. They brought it there to fake prosperous.
So it was the first time that you got confronted with actually a Western atmosphere, a Western culture.
Yes.
How was that?
This is interesting. Like we were as a tribe behind the moon, and the people came in with Western cars and stuff, and we had even Western guests in our house.
Yeah.
Nearly most of the people rented their house, their flat or a bed in their houses to earn a little bit money.
Yeah, so I just try to adjust it a little bit for you that you get closer to it. So I think that's great. Yeah,
no, it's good. Yeah, that was an atmosphere which was very lively, and Leipzig had also a big cultural scene. We had halls and places, Congress, is a zoo. We had huge orchestras.
Yeah, I mean Leipzig was a great cultural place.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
famous concerts.
So which kind of music did you hear then?
Classical.
Just classic.
Classical. Also the pop things, they came up very late in the 80s, 70s, 80s.
Even in Leipzig,
Even in
before
Leipzig.
the fall of the wall.
Yeah, it came up very late, and they picked up. People were all about Rolling Stones and Beatles in the 60s.
But not in Leipzig. I mean,
in Leipzig, in the
as well.
schools, when I went to school.
But it was forbidden to listen to it, wasn't it?
It was forbidden. Yeah.
So you could get into.
And in the radio programs, they had a guideline. You have to have 60% local music.
They have it in France
German.
still.
Yeah. And the others is but everybody was crazy about. My sister, they just Radio Luxembourg was.
Yeah, I mean, we know, dear listeners. I mean, so if you're not so familiar with the history of Germany, East and West Germany, I mean, it was forbidden to get Western jeans and comics and all that. So you must imagine in Berlin, you had a wall between the East and the West Berlin, and if you wanted to visit your relatives, you had to drive through West Berlin to get to East Berlin. No, actually to the DDR to get to East Berlin somehow. You know?
The Palace of Tears. Yeah. The Palast der Tränen.
Palace of Tears.
Yeah.
So it was. I mean, even for me, because I never been in East Germany, even not as a child. It is very difficult to understand. I mean, I know I was a child, and I couldn't. As a child, you can't imagine that things like this in a postmodernity still exists. It's so close. You know. I mean, for me, it was really like just a fairy tale. You know, there is a wall, and people are not allowed to come over here, and so. And I was feeling so pity because my father was in the SPD as a social democrat, you know, and I was as a child quite. I was helping him as well as an election helper, and it was all about free will. I mean, we know that people actually they just want to have a free will for shopping, but I mean, never mind. At least at this time, it was for me an idealistic dream, so to have a free Germany for everyone, So as at the time, but was it 89 or was it 91 where the wall was falling down?
The wall
Yeah.
came down 89.
89 was
Yeah.
so I was really I was quite happy that happened, because like I
Happy
said,
for us.
I was happy for you, but you guys, some of the guys didn't see it like this.
No. Yeah, there was big portion of, also the majority of people wanted the change, of course, or maybe all people wanted the change.
Yeah.
But maybe 20% of the people, including myself, we wanted to make both positives, put them together into a new country, and not just be overtaken by the West.
By the ideologies of the West. I think that was
not only ideology, but we had some advantages in the so-called socialism that the West could dream of.
Yeah,
we had equality of men and women nearly.
Yeah.
Even with payment, also it was quite near this equal payment, and
but women were far more self-sustained.
And women, I think women
West,
in the East were quite independent.
Quite more independent
Yeah,
than the West. Yeah, I think so.
did not. The majority did not rely on the income of the. Also, maybe it was quite still a lot, because they still had children and they still had to go to work half time and stuff. They still, of course, through this giving birth, you cannot be the same. This is not possible to have an equality, a pure equality. So, but the state interfered quite a lot with trying to produce an equality to have the women work. Of course, they needed a workforce, and the workforce was not there, so they needed the women to bring the children to the kindergarten, to have them in a maintained, entertained, to allow women to work. So that is now very. That happened a lot of times, but in my case, I did not do this. I decided to stay home.
Yeah.
And that is where my artwork started, in fact, because I had more time for myself.
Yeah, but first of all, we might maybe go a little bit more into your childhood. So you went to, there was a kindergarten as well, probably?
Not for me. No. My mother stayed home she was a housewife.
Yeah?
Yeah. My father did not want. The men do not want the women to. He did not want my mother to work.
No?
To go out to work and put the children somewhere else. He was of the old school.
Yeah.
He earned a lot of money. He earned a lot of good money. And he earned as much as to maintain the family. That was enough. The socialism gave the people enough to eat, not the goods, not the Chinese food or the Indonesian food or Spanish food, but it was the basic food was always there. Not always, but it should be. Also, it was a big uproar if there were no. If there was a lack of food, this was, but so we had all to eat, and it grew better and better towards the 80s. It was Honecker who was a leader who wanted to have a more well-off country. So he wanted to feed or to build more flats and to have a better living standard, it's called. So that was in the 80s. It went very, very better. So there were not the living conditions in the 70s still, where you had a very awkward little flat in an old house with a toilet on the half landing halfway down. So that and the water basin was still there as a basin. You had to fill the water. It was a really really simple life. And then in the 70s they built these huge complexes with newly built buildings, and we were forced to
move
into this house. We did not want it.
You didn't?
No, we wanted to stay in this old house because it was.
It has character.
It was aside a park and the old road, the old streets, and there was a cathedral, and it was embedded in the life of the city. And the newly built complexes, they were out of town. They were in the north, in an awkward, horrible building site condition. If you had to go to work in the morning, and there was no lamp, there was no lighting on the road, so you stuck with your shoes deep in the mud and to run after the tram. So these conditions. They put the people in before it even was finished, the whole place. That was,
right.
So, but that was where we had to move when we were young, and as a young couple. And we were the last in this old building before that was the next day, before we moved, we moved out, before on the next day they would explode the building. So we stayed till the last night.
Really? So they demolished it?
Because they offered us a flat which was much too little. I was pregnant, and we demanded we have not only one room apartment. We wanted more. And they had to give us then, because we did not move out. So we forced them a little bit as well.
Did you see how they demolished your house?
No. They did not. They put it inside out. They demolished it from inside to make it new, and they demolished only the
Entkern, we call it.
Backyard. The backyard.
All right.
Like in Berlin, where you have three back yards, the back houses, or what is it called, Hinterhof.
Backyards,
And that was where I lived as well, and so they removed the last of them. And to make new parking lots and stuff like this. So we didn't like it at that time, but the most of the people were crazy about it. They were excited to move out because, as I said, they had no water. They had only a little basin, and they had the toilet downstairs, and they were excited to move in a building which was like a hotel for them, like a fully heated, central heating, and all new. They liked this.
Amazing. And as you said you never went to kindergarten, but then you went with 6 or 7 and probably in a school, or when was it as well? So for 4 years, and then is it the same system like in West Germany? 4 years in the ground school, and then.
No, we had a school, the Polytechnical School, 10 years. 8 years. In the beginning, it was 8 years, and then people who did not like school or were not able to follow, they could leave after 8 years.
All right.
And could go into the profession, in the trade.
Okay.
If they found one.
And you did 10 years? Or
Yeah.
To 16?
There was, how old was I? 15, 16. I always thought I could go, it was like my father had a contract. No, people who worked in a higher profession, like in engineers, or they had contracts that single contracts, Einzelverträge, where they could guarantee that the child could go to an Oberschule.
High school,
High school. And as my father had did not have this. There were other people who went to high school instead of me, but I had the better
Qualification,
achievements. Yeah.
equipment.
So yeah, and so I could not go. I did the A level then much later, after my apprenticeship. First went to apprentice. The father said, "You do this. You could go there. I have seen there is a seat free, or what is a Platz frei? There's a room you can do it."
Yeah.
And I did it. So he said it, and I did it. That was like this in the 70s.
Yeah.
You had to do what your father said.
So what was it? So were very much art interested already.
Yeah, also I didn't know. I just like to paint. I just like to draw much. And we in our country we had a lack of things to buy. You know this.
Yeah.
And so we did it ourselves. We made our own clothes. We batiked. We sew. We knit. We did everything ourselves.
Yeah.
And that is what my mother taught us, that we could do our own things, what we needed. We built our own furniture.
Yeah.
We painted our own houses. We did all ourselves.
Yeah.
Because there were no
I mean,
no workers, no handymen.
we artists did it in the West as well, you know. So the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I did my own clothes as well. As I had my band, I
Later on then.
No, I was 20. Yeah, a little bit later. Yeah.
But we did it from childhood onwards.
I mean, I was always creative. No, but if you're a child, you get the stuff by it. I mean, my mother bought it sometimes as well, secondhand. You know, so yeah, but no, not as a child. So you teach. It was self-taught then.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So, but I didn't know that nowadays it's called creative.
Yeah.
What you
Yeah.
do.
No, I mean, I think it was quite early that I was not so happy with this establishment, just buying things, you know. So it was not about buying; it was more about the success, or this successful feeling doing things on your own and being unique, you know.
Yes.
In that
We did it for
what you
need,
do.
for necessity,
Yeah,
because we could not buy what
because
we
you
wanted.
could get it. So I mean, in the West we know that we got everything. If you have the money, you get it. You know.
I know.
But
But we knew all this. Also we were not as silly or stupid what people think in the West. We had. Also I lived in an area where we could receive Western TV, so all people watched Western TV.
Yeah.
And as I now know, the government did as well.
Probably. Yeah.
So we learned, and our information was exactly the same. That we looked over the border. We could see what happens in the Western area as well. So we saw that there's unemployment and poverty, all this. Yeah.
True.
So that was these were the arguments of the look there. There are a big portion of the people are poor and stuff like this.
Yeah.
They lose their jobs and stuff like
Yeah.
this.
I mean, I know that as well from Susanne, a friend of mine, that her father was singer in the GDR, you know, and he was occupied by the state, so he had a good job, and after the war fall, he loses his job,
Yeah,
you know.
that
So
was
I
big,
mean,
yeah.
a lot of creative people couldn't survive anymore. You
No,
know? I mean,
this
that's unfortunately the dark side of the moon.
The dark side of unity, of the unification.
Of privatization,
Yeah.
you know, of neoliberalism, you know. I mean,
Very bad. They just took over. It was.
I mean, it is, but like always. So dear listeners, I mean, Felicitas and we had as well today a talk about the system and what is better and what not, you know. So it is so difficult to find the gold middle, isn't it? So
Yeah, it was. the Western system was just stronger and in power. They took over. We were taken
Sure,
over.
where the money was, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
and
I can imagine actually they were trying to establish the Eastern railway stations somehow in a way that they put millions into a marble foot floor and things like that. I mean, such stupid wasting of money, you know, which was mad. And eventually the East was empty and sad and because everyone came to the West more or less. So that all these places, they were already abandoned.
the jobs were much better paid in the West. When you were a doctor,
Still
is still there.
Still.
And if you are a doctor, the better you earned, the more you earned in the West. So if you're just a worker, you could even earn in the Western car factories.
So how was it for you? I mean, what was your job
My
before the war breakdown?
I was always lucky with jobs. I worked in the university of the town and had a translating job as like secretariat translating, because I had knowledge of the English language, and so they used me for translating the papers, the scientific papers, to be published in magazines in the West. So that I did before the wall came down. And then this was the whole thing with dissidents and with these thoughts we could save what is good in the East. It was good. We could save this, the culture and the thinking and the non-consumerism in the DDR, and the kindergartens and the equalities and low costs for living. That there's a cap on it. That nobody can make something out of suppressing somebody. I mean, with rents, for instance, tenants. So that was a good thing, but it's not possible. It was not possible to really save this and integrate this into a new system, because the majority of the people just wanted the West mark and the whole system. They just admired it from the beginning.
Sure, yeah. I know. I mean, that's the way, isn't it? I mean,
for me, it's a huge culture which was there, which was not compared to the culture in the West. The culture in the West was satisfied, and people were just wanted entertainment. And in the East, there was always an underdog life.
Bread and circuses. It's always the same, isn't it? You know. So the people, they are like this already since the Roman Empire, and that didn't change. You know. So like I said, people that they don't want to have a free will, they want to have the free will to consume. You know.
This is
Or they don't know what to do with their freedom.
Yeah, no, that's I mean, the free will of consume, you know, because this is for most of the people satisfying.
They take freedom for consumerism.
Yeah.
They take, if they can consume what I want, I am free.
That's what I mean, you know. So that's sure.
Yeah.
I would say we continue with our talks from the wall fall, and then the journey to Ireland in our second episode, and we finished the first episode with a poem, which is actually about your childhood in the GDR. And dear listeners, I have my Instagram account. It's at Detlef, or at ArTEEtude, or at I Love West Cork Artists, or join us in the I Love West Cork Artists group, and you can have a dialogue with me about the podcast. So I would say, first of all, thank you, Felicitas, for coming. And I would say that you are the one now who finished this podcast with your poem. I
Yes.
already say bye-bye to the people. Bye-bye.
Unspeakable. There you are, woman, back at the old place. You look around, it's all there again. The square, walls around, the benches too high to climb, no chance. Will you stay within? Don't spill the sand over the edge. And the lens that is your eye shrinks everything around you, and you are in it again, little, helpless, in the middle of a battlefield. Battalions march up, are ambushed, attack each other, merge. You are at the mercy of this fuss, pushed to and fro, don't know where to turn, what to do. You look for mum, you scream, you are not heard, as if your mouth was stuffed with cotton wool. You stumble, you fall, you get up again. There's the sound of boots marching in step, it echoes in your ears. Boots which herald war, a war which will take place, a catastrophe will be ending up in. As despite having deceived the prophecy, why? You didn't want to hear. Boots will trample down your feeling, will cross borders, infringe on your space, which you wouldn't even comprehend. You will be dragged into battles, the horrors of which you were unable to foresee. You will be forced to bury your losses. The armies defeated will retreat, trickle down your sweaty back like sand to try to crawl back up there again on millions of ants' legs. Between fur and flesh you will be sitting, bruised, your skin scratched up by dirty shoes, your clothes ragged. You will lie on your back kicking, sand in your eyes, mouth, ears, under your fingernails. What are you drumming hard against me? What do my swollen eyes want to tell me? I'm still here, ain't I? Or where?
You have listened to ArTEEtude, West Cork's first art, fashion and design podcast. ArTEEtude, never so close again. That was too close.